Welcome to a new Common Sense episode by Pila Technica. We're diving deep today into what is arguably the most crucial skill for anyone operating in those high pressure, high consequence environments. We're talking about resilience. This is really a framework for professional fortitude. And when we talk about resilience, look, we aren't just talking about, surviving a setback. Our source material gives us something much more powerful. It defines it as the capacity to overcome negative or difficult situations, things that really shake you emotionally, and crucially, to emerge fortified from them. It's essentially a training program for emotional strength.
Yeah, think about that analogy the source uses. It's quite vivid. Resilience is like a vase that breaks, but the material actually becomes more resistant with each fall. It gets stronger right at those fracture points. And that, for you, the listener, is exactly why this skill is mandatory. It's not optional. If you want to achieve truly great goals, whether it's in aviation or, frankly, any challenging field, mastering resilience, well, it makes you basically unstoppable. And what's really critical to grasp here is that resilience is trained. It's just like muscle memory or, physical endurance. You build it. So if you feel sensitive or maybe overwhelmed today, that's okay. That's just your starting point. The philosophy here as well is quite stoic, isn't it? Pain is inevitable. But suffering, that emotional reaction to the pain, that's entirely optional.
Okay, let's unpack that necessity then. Why isn't resilience just a nice to have a personal bonus? Why is it a fundamental professional mandate, especially for experts in fields like aviation?
Because of the unique environment they operate in, it's not just one stressor, it's a whole stack of them, usually all at once. Professionals are, continuously exposed to external factors they just cannot control. Think sudden weather shifts, maybe equipment malfunctions, even global security threats these days.
Right, the things completely outside their direct influence, and then you layer in the organizational pressures too, right?
Exactly. Things like rigid organizational cultures, relentless demands for punctuality, schedule disruptions. And like the fact is, you inevitably carry personal problems into the workplace sometimes. That's human. Plus, the interactions themselves can be incredibly intense. You've got difficult passengers, maybe navigating a colleague's negativity or pessimism, and just the stress of the tight operational turnaround. It's constant.
And here's where it gets really, really critical, I think. All of this culminates in the need to make incredibly important, sometimes life altering choices in a split second. Often, while the professional is already emotionally taxed from everything else.
That's the core vulnerability right there. And resilience is what allows that professional to adapt, to recover quickly, and most critically, to maintain safe performance under all those adverse conditions. Look, you might not control the turbulence or the difficult schedule or the passenger's mood, but you retain absolute control over how you respond. That's the key.
That leads us perfectly into the training methodology. It's laid out in 3 steps. Step 1 seems foundational, taking control of yourself and your emotional landscape. How do we even start to separate that immediate gut reaction, the body's alarm system, from the rational mind?
We have to start with that ancient wisdom, borrowed from the Stoics, the dichotomy of control. It's powerful. The key question you must internalize and ask yourself constantly is this: is it up to me or is it not up to me? Simple question, profound impact. If the answer is up to me, meaning it involves your effort, your decision making, your actions, then that's where all your energy, focus, and attention needs to go, period. But if the answer is not up to me, like an external event, someone else's bad attitude, the weather, whatever, you have to instantly stop thinking about it. You consciously cut off the emotional bandwidth drain. The source material is really clear on this. We paralyze ourselves by dwelling on factors we simply cannot change.
Okay, wait, let me just push back slightly there, because when you're in a truly high consequence situation, say a pilot facing sudden engine failure or a team leader confronting an immediate threat, fear is instantaneous, surely. It's a biological response. How does a professional in that moment instantly separate their judgment from that sudden, very real threat?
That's where the training aspect is so vital. It's not the event itself, the engine failure, the difficult team leader making a mistake in the simulator that truly upsets us or throws us off course, is fundamentally our judgments and opinions about those events. We are, believe it or not, responsible for how we feel. If something makes you frustrated, angry, fearful, you are ultimately to blame for getting involved in that feeling, for letting it take over. Emotional intelligence in this context is simply the pause, the space you deliberately insert between the stimulus and your reaction. It takes practice.
I see. So the goal isn't to eliminate fear entirely, because fear can be a useful alarm system. It's about eliminating the suffering that comes from dwelling on the unfairness or the negativity of the event. We take ownership of our mental state.
Precisely, you take ownership.
Okay. And that frees up a huge amount of mental energy, doesn't it? energy we can then invest in step two, which is enhancing confidence. Now, the source is very firm on this. It says the only way to truly enhance confidence is to become competent. So let's break down competence. What are the components? What three things must we master?
Right, competence is essentially the integration of three core components. It's often known by the acronym KSA. First, you have knowledge. That's the information, the theory, the data required for a specific task, knowing what to do. Second, skill. This is the ability to actually apply that information effectively, knowing how to do it. And third, attitude. This is crucial. It's how an individual demonstrates behavior based on their underlying values while they're applying their expertise. It's the way you do it. And what's really fascinating here is the kind of mathematical relationship between them. Knowledge and skill, they sort of add up to your basic professional capacity. They build on each other. But attitude, that has a multiplier effect. Think about that for a second. Imagine a pilot with phenomenal technical knowledge and amazing flying skills, but who has a really negative, pessimistic, or maybe even lazy attitude. That attitude will degrade the performance of the entire crew. They'll likely misuse their knowledge or underperform when it counts. Attitude determines consistency, effort, teamwork. It multiplies your output, either positively or negatively. It's huge.
Wow, a multiplier effect. That's powerful. Okay, so if attitude is the multiplier and knowledge takes the most effort to acquire, how do we practically train these components every single day? We need some actionable steps here for people listening.
Absolutely. Knowledge and skill, they develop through simple disciplines practiced consistently, day in, day out. We have to establish daily habits that proactively reclaim control of our time and our minds. It's about building structure, finding purpose, and feeling in control.
So we're talking about things like actually planning your day the night before, allocating specific time slots to review manuals, train materials, industry updates, and consciously avoiding that common trap of waking up and immediately grabbing your phone, letting emails and social media dictate your mental agenda first thing.
Precisely that. A lack of a plan is, essentially, a plan for failure, especially in demanding roles. And regarding attitude, training that requires deeper, more deliberate reflection on your personal values. Things like discipline, order, perseverance, companionship, honesty, integrity, respect. What do these mean to you? Reflecting on these values fosters critical thinking. And critical thinking shapes your attitude. And ultimately, your attitude dictates your behavior, especially when you're under pressure.
Okay, this is great. It brings us to the final and maybe the most detailed step in the training methodology. Step 3, developing productive capacity. This is where it all comes together. It's about how you actually emerge fortified from adversity.
Jamie Ferrer discusses this concept in his book, The Competencies of the Aviation Pilot, where he explains that enhancing resilience involves developing productive capacity.
The source lists 10 key actions here. Let's maybe try and group these thematically for the listener, perhaps starting with planning and mindset.
So the very first element is prevent, minimize, and overcome negative effects. See, resilience actually starts before the crisis hits. It's proactive. You hope for the best outcome, naturally, but you systematically prepare for the worst. Plan scenarios, analyze potential outcomes, and when adversity does strike, you analyze, what did I actually achieve versus what would likely have happened if I hadn't acted or done nothing? You need to quantify your effort and impact.
Okay, that connects really well to, I think it's the fifth element. Be positive. This isn't about ignoring problems, is it? It's seeing obstacles as disguised opportunities. The resilient professional doesn't waste precious time on why me, but immediately asks, okay, where's the lesson here? How can I grow from this?
But we need to be careful with the type of optimism. The source makes a really important distinction here. It warns against what it calls unconscious optimism. That's risky because it often lacks preparation. It's just blind faith. What we're aiming for is realistic optimism. That means being fully aware of your limitations, assessing all the possible outcomes, good and bad, staying within known safety margins, and preparing diligently. That kind of grounded, realistic positivity, it's incredibly contagious within a team, and it dramatically enhances safety and morale.
Right, positivity grounded in competence and preparation. And the sixth element really anchors this mindset. Evaluate the specific situation. This means making informed, objective decisions using accurate, reliable data. Facts matter. You have to avoid relying solely on, say, other subjective opinions or feelings unless they are clearly grounded in verifiable facts. Gut feelings need data backup. And you must clearly understand, risk the actual possibility of harm, considering both the short-term tactical consequences and the longer-term strategic implications of every choice you make.
Well put. Now let's shift focus slightly to the internal response and growth aspects, how we actually manage the event as it's unfolding and learn from it. Number 2 on the list is demonstrate endurance. Sounds simple, but it's tough. You need to remain strong, recognize that your perception heavily influences your reactions. How you see it changes how you feel it. Crucially, you must be willing to seek assistance when needed. That's strength, not weakness. Reflect on how you handled previous adversity. And above all, continuously take action. Don't freeze.
And closely related is the third element, continuously adapt. The operating environment, the world, it's always changing. So you have to constantly work to expand your comfort zone. Be willing to try new things, face new challenges. When anxiety or fear flares up, and it will, you must intentionally use that emotional intelligence we talked about to separate your emotions from your practical, necessary reactions. Always focus back on what you can actually control in that moment.
Absolutely. Which brings us to maybe the most complex element, number 7. Engage in internal conversation, or what we often call reflection. This isn't just daydreaming, it's a structured 3-stage mastery process. It starts with reflection and action. That means visualizing and confirming your preparation, your knowledge, your skills before you even start the task. Like a detailed mental walkthrough of a complex procedure.
Okay, so visualizing success and readiness beforehand. Then you move to knowledge and action, which is utilizing all your resources, checklists, your team members, your training during the task itself, applying what you know when it matters.
Precisely. And the loop closes with reflection on the action. This is the critical post-event mental debrief. You mentally compare your initial visualization and plan with the actual outcome. Pinpoint exactly where success occurred, and just as importantly, where failures or deviations happened. This constant cycle of visualize, act, reflect is fundamentally how expertise is built and refined over time.
That makes a lot of sense. And the eighth element seems like the natural output of all this internal work. Show confidence in yourself and others. It's about leading by example, isn't it? Always striving to do what is right ethically and professionally. It means honestly identifying your weaknesses and making concrete plans to overcome them. But also, importantly, learning to accept praise gracefully and recognizing your own strengths. Don't just focus on the negatives, and we have to deal with our fears, really distinguishing the rational ones from the irrational ones, and actively work to silence that negative internal dialogue, that self-talk that fuels self-doubt. Remember, you are hired for a reason. Safe operations depend on it.
Okay, let's wrap up with the final group of elements. Focusing on social and emotional management. How we handle ourselves and interact with others under stress. The ninth element is straightforward, but so often forgotten in the heat of the moment. Manage your own stress. First step, identify your personal triggers. What really sets you off? Then, consciously adjust your reactions to those unavoidable tensions and pressures. Choose your response. Crucially, try not to take things personally, especially operational pressures or criticisms, and make a real effort to separate your work problems and emotions before you leave home, and leave personal issues at home before you start work. Compartmentalize effectively.
That separation is key. And the final element, number 10, builds on that. Avoid stressing others, because stress is incredibly contagious, isn't it? We naturally tend to mirror the emotions we see around us. It's called emotional contagion.
It is. So you need to use your emotional intelligence to distinguish the person from the situation. Maintain a clear separation between someone else's emotional state, maybe they're panicking or frustrated, and your own objective professional bearing. That separation is absolutely vital for maintaining stable team performance, especially when things get tough. So if we synthesize this whole journey we've discussed, resilience clearly isn't some fixed quality you're either born with or you're not. That's a myth. It is a continuous trained process. It's built on those 3 foundational pillars we covered. First, gaining absolute control over our reactions, using that dichotomy of control. Second, systematically securing our competence KSA through consistent, deliberate daily disciplines. And third, actively practicing those 10 highly developed productive habits that ensure we don't just survive adversity, but emerge genuinely fortified from every single challenge.
That provides a really solid, comprehensive framework, something you, the listener, can start applying immediately. And remember, perhaps the most significant personal and professional growth we experience often comes directly from dealing with difficulties, from navigating those tough situations. Every challenge, every mistake really is a new opportunity to strengthen that inner resilience muscle. Always keep in mind that there is always room for improvement, always another level to reach. We hope to see you again in the next Common Sense episode by Pila Technica.